All right, good morning everyone. Hopefully everyone is all set. So again, welcome and thank you for joining us for today's free webinar. It is all about Remix Mini. It's the awesome new Android PC that's offered by Jide Technology. Joining us today would be Jide Technology themselves. So before we begin, an interesting thing. So there are three of us holding this webinar right now. Myself in Manila, Jason in China, and also Tawanda from South Africa. So that's a pretty awesome thing that we're able to do now. So what you're seeing now is actually the screen from China, but what you're hearing is a voice from Manila. So cool things, yeah. Anyway, so just before we formally begin, a few house rules. First and foremost, you will, as an attendee, you will be muted, but you can type in your questions if you have on the questions box. You should see that on your dashboard, or you can also chat those to me. Now, we will be answering all questions at the latter part of the presentation. All right. And that's about it. And the last thing basically is we'll be providing all of the references after the webinar, such as the recording and the presentations. All right, so just kind of a brief introduction. Jason from Jide Technology will be doing this amazing presentation for us today. He will be taking us through Remix Mini, which is the amazing new Android PC that's available for all qualified NGOs in TechSoup Asia Pacific. So, Jason, if you're all set, feel free to begin anytime.
Hey, thanks very much, Jed. Can everybody hear me all right? I think, okay. So let me just start. My name is Jason. I actually come from the San Francisco Bay Area, working out of Beijing, China now. And it's a personal honor for me to be talking to you guys. I've actually started my career working in nonprofit organizations back in the Bay Area. So this is something really near and dear to my heart. And back then I was doing a lot of work helping young adults and also parents get back to work, welfare to work programs where we would find people free training and educational classes to let them, get back to the workforce. And so being able to give back to the community is something that is a personal, goal of mine, and it's something that I've done in my career as well. So moving on to what we do here at Jide Technology. When I first got approached by Jide and by Jeremy, the CEO, and let me take this opportunity to bounce to the next slide here. You're going to see that Jide is actually made of three co-founders who were ex-Google engineers. And you see Jeremy, Ben, and Dave. Jeremy is actually the guy who also talked to me about working for Jide. And I'll get into the story a little bit later. But, when we work in nonprofit organizations, a lot of times our goals are more than just the bottom line, right? And he really inspired me with why he wanted to start this company. But you can see some information about each co-founder here. Jeremy was a very early Google employee. In fact, probably one of the first Asians, if not the first Chinese employee at Google. He was actually the first AdWords engineer. If those of you who know AdWords, this is also the first platform that started making Google any kind of revenue. So this is a very interesting achievement in his career. You also see Ben. Ben spent a lot of years here in Asia leading Google Maps. He worked across Southeast Asia as well as China before Google was banned. And so that was a pretty interesting background that Ben has also in this region. David is also well-versed in working in emerging markets where he led teams that allowed small to medium-sized enterprises learn how to use AdWords and use mobile advertising. And he's been really instrumental. He's actually my direct report here at Jide. And let me go back to the story about what inspired me to work with these three gentlemen. Jeremy himself, in the mid 2000s, was inspired by a project that came out of the New York University. It was called the One Laptop Per Child. And what it tried to do was keep computing under $100 so that children across the world who couldn't access computing devices before could potentially afford to be able to get on the internet, use computers, do their homework, and access information. Um, back then the dream was to be able to give it to organizations such as TechSoup and to have it disperse technology into the hands of these kids who needed this to better their lives or better their families' lives or better their society's lives. And part of that dream was realized with what Remix Mini is. We'll get into the product a little bit later, but I think it's important to understand the vision that this company has, right, for why we do what we do. And you see in this slide here, it says making Android computing affordable and accessible. But on an even higher level, what we want to do is make technology affordable and accessible to anybody who could benefit from it. If you take a step back in history, technology has always been about, or information technology has always been about giving the masses access to information. It started with things like the printing press, where books could be mass-produced and put into the hands of the working class. And then came the internet itself, right? And personal computing and the internet created this powerful medium where almost any information could be accessible within minutes, seconds of a Google search, right? So this is at the core of what we want to do is make it accessible, this information. Another part of accessibility is the fact that Android is the most dominant operating system in the world, especially in parts of the world like Southeast Asia and a lot of emerging markets. My colleague Tawan is also on this call. He hails from the African continent, and a lot of parts of these types of parts of the world is also 80 to 90% Android dominant. So we're talking about accessibility also means ease of use, familiarity with this kind of technology, downloading apps, installing apps, the kind of apps that you already use in your day-to-day. So this is a big part of what we do here. So as I move on, let's begin with what Jide Technology bases our innovation, our company on. This is Remix OS. So this slide is pretty basic. What is Remix OS? So let's go through some of the basics. Remix OS is 100% Android. So that means that it is based on AOSP. And what we've done with AOSP is added these other functionalities to it. And this part of it will be relevant to you guys because what we strive to do here is to allow people to work with Android. If you kind of take a look at what Androids you've been associated or have experienced in the past, it's usually on your phone, maybe on your tablet, but most of it is for consumption of information and content. You watch videos, you play some games maybe, you go on the internet and read information, news articles, maybe go on Flipboard and read what the latest news out there is. But if you're trying to use Android to do some work, right, this has been traditionally very hard. So what we've kind of tried to build was the Android PC. And what you need to do when you have an Android PC, the Android part is the apps, but the PC part is, and if you follow along, we have multitasking. And you can see in the image there that you have multiple screens, or windows, I'm sorry, opened up. You see an Excel, you see a browser, you also see, I believe that's a Facebook feed or a Messenger feed. Ability to do different kinds of things, right? We're talking about productivity, but also communications. Then we talk about a taskbar. Now, if you're in this environment where you see a screen, a keyboard and a mouse, a lot of our habits come up. This immediately allows you to feel like you should be in a computer mode. And then, so what's more familiar than a taskbar on the bottom of your screen, managing your apps, managing your systems. So this is a very important part of the familiarity part. Keyboard and mouse. How else, what better way to input information than a keyboard and mouse? It is still the most accurate. It is still I mean, imagine yourself typing out a long report or a long email to a colleague of yours, right? If you're doing it on a phone or a tablet, it's a pain. But, Android with keyboard and mouse optimization actually fulfills the idea of Android PCs. Get your work done using the most efficient ways of inputting data. And finally, file management. This is also pretty key. Just like, and we'll see it in a video later that we're going to share, but just like with your Windows PCs or your Macs, when you manage files, it should be intuitive. You just drag and select and copy and paste files across different folders. But if you've ever tried to manage a file in Android itself, it's pretty hard. This is part of the innovation that we're talking about. Now, so today we're here gathered together to talk about the Remix Mini. And we call it the world's first Android PC. So this is basically what you need to do. You connect any screen. It could be a computer monitor, or it can even be a TV screen. But for our intents and purposes and for your organizations, I can imagine them being computer monitors that are already in your organization. You can use keyboard and mouse, connect the keyboard and mouse. You can use USB wireless. It can also Bluetooth. But this is put together. You get a fully functional Android PC, and you see the setup in that image right there. So that's the idea of Remix Mini. That's what that's all you really need to do. And thinking of your organizations, if you have older computer desktop machines, maybe they're already becoming quite useless, and you're thinking about replacing them. This would be a very, very interesting and easy alternative for you. So I have here a video, and we're going to run through it really quick. This goes through the way to set up. So in order to save some time, I'm going to move on. But what we saw in the video there was a lot of things that are relevant to you guys, how to set up. You saw that setup process was pretty easy. The gaming side probably has less to do with organizations. but the ability to get work done, the keyboard shortcuts there, you saw a few things happening, Control C, Control V, copy and pasting with the keyboard shortcut. Also, the Alt tab, kind of switching between programs. We have roughly about 15 to 20 most widely used keyboard shortcuts already built into the system, and this is also another difference. And let's go over some of the qualities that Remix Mini can give you. Affordable. You can choose from 2 million plus free apps available on Android. So this is really leveraging the Android app ecosystem, which has the biggest developer base, behind it. Through our cooperation with TechSoup, I think there's a very, very affordable model built in for the Mini for you guys. Also has low maintenance costs. I mean, if you save money, it's just as much as making money, right, or keeping an organization going. What we're talking about is for a lot of your older desktops, you need to buy new RAM, buy new hard drives, especially if they get corrupted or outdated. You also have to when your systems get slow and old, you have to figure out a way to flash in a new operating system or a new version of Windows, and your IT guy needs to go and figure out whether he needs to spend on it or not. For us, I mean, Android itself has been able to keep the quality of the operating system for longer periods than Windows would. It's intuitive. Like we said before, it's easy to understand. You have your taskbar. It looks like a PC interface, so people don't need to spend a lot of time relearning stuff. The hardware is simple, and you still have your keyboard, mouse, and shortcuts like we had talked about. The mobility of this product. I mean, let's say you were, moving your computer from one workstation to another, or even carrying it in your pocket from home to work. We've had users talk about this experience where they kind of keep this as their hard drive in a way when they move from their workstation at home to their workstation at work, and all you got to do is plug into that monitor or another monitor to keep working. And productivity, like we had talked about, you can run all your Android apps smoothly. That includes a lot of Office Suite apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and the Google Docs, Slides, and Sheets. In fact, I'm using Google Slides here to conduct this webinar with you guys. And this is what we think is a true desktop PC experience on an Android machine, right? And what can Remix Mini do for you? Um, Again, access to 2 million Android apps. This allows you to have a versatility in what needs to be done in your organization. Another big point is it only uses 10 volts of electricity. That means you save up to 95% in power consumption. If, reducing energy costs, and if you're in areas of the world where there are unreliable electricity supply, this would be an ideal machine, an ideal PC for you. Again, getting your work done, your docs, your emails, your spreadsheets, and creating slideshows like the one we're showing right now, and the ability to communicate and stay connected. I mean, we have Bluetooth enabled, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, 2 USB ports, and so that you can stay in touch and get connected to the internet. And Remix OS again is an Android modified for multitasking, productivity, and also the keyboard and mouse usages. And this is your technical specs. I don't really want to go through each one very, very in detail, but all I want to point out is that if we're looking at storage and memory, we're definitely talking about the specs on the right-hand side. So that would be the 2 gig RAM and 16 gig internal storage, and the rest is already up here for you to kind of view. I can leave it on this screen for a little bit and open it up. I think Jed, if you're ready, I think I'm ready for any questions that anybody might have.
Hey, lovely. Thank you, Jason. So guys, I haven't seen any questions so far, so please do, if you have questions, please, I think this is the best time to type them in now while we have Jide here. All right, so I'll just give you a few moments. Now, just to add a bit on what Jason mentioned earlier. So in terms of apps as well, this goes perfectly well with donations as well coming from TechSoup, primarily coming from the Office 365 and Google for Nonprofits programs. As these are primarily cloud-based tools, you can basically access them easily through your Remix Minis. All right. So okay, I have a few questions come in. All right. So what about capability to printing, scanning, etc.? Jason?
Sure. Yeah, I'll take that. So printing companies like HP and Brother and Epson, they generally have on their own websites uh, downloadable apps for you to print over the air. So through your Wi-Fi connection, there are these apps that allow printing to happen. Um, we have tried printing with through the USB connectivity. This has been kind of hit and miss because what we've been targeting is leveraging what Android already provides for you. And so again, the HPs, the Brothers, the Epsons, most of them do have apps available on their websites that allow for your computer to be able to, or even your phone, to be able to connect to that printer and print over wireless or Wi-Fi.
Yep. Adding to what Jason mentioned there, yes, they do actually have apps. We have an HP printer at home and actually just print straight from my mobile. So basically, I have a very cheap Android phone here, and actually just plug it to a printer through a USB and print directly from there. So yeah, that is
Right.
definitely doable.
Right. I want to emphasize also taking the opportunity to kind of piggyback on that answer. Uh, 2 million apps on Android Plus, right? This does give you a lot of versatility, and a lot of the solutions that are available for this machine, like printing and whatnot, can be resolved through apps. So a quick Google search can actually find a lot of apps that can help you do your day-to-day computing. It's a little bit even more versatile than what you might be used to from your traditional PCs.
Mhm. All right. So next question from Liz. Hi Liz. So when will this be available in the Philippines? It is actually available now. So if you are a qualified nonprofit in TechSoup, I believe you are already, you can basically place an order anytime you want. Uh, it's the same process. Just log into your account, place an order there. You should see Remix Mini under hardware. It's filed under hardware. And the cool thing about this is that there are no restrictions. Any nonprofit, as long as they're qualified for TechSoup, they can place a request for as many as you want. So please do order now. All right. So other questions, please take your time and just punch in your questions now. Okay, so I guess while we're waiting for new questions to come in, so I guess let's talk about the basics of how, basically the logistics of this. So again, if you're a qualified nonprofit, you can already request for this through TechSoup. Basically, I mean TechSoup Asia Pacific specifically. So if you that covers 6 countries, that's Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Philippines. So it is already available there. So if you are qualified, please you can actually place your order now. All right, so next question from friends. Hi, friends. All right, so can this be supported by projectors, or does the HDMI support projectors? Jason?
Yes, it can. So actually, internally in our company, we have this term called dog fooding. It comes from the Google days for our co-founders. And what we try to do is for products like the Mini, we use them all the time around the office. So, for example, I have a Mini hooked up to my computer, and I switch and use it for about at least a quarter of my work every day. So for our own internal presentations, we actually hook this up to our projectors. So yes, it's been battle tested in our own office, and through the HDMI, you can hook up to most modern projectors out there.
Just adding again to that, we have had the pleasure of actually testing Remix Mini before it was made available to TechSoup. And during that time, we didn't have any screens available, so we actually used a projector to substitute for a print for uh, any other device. So basically, we just plugged the Remix straight to a projector, and we used it straight from there. We connected
All right.
yeah, a Bluetooth uh, a Bluetooth keyboard to it and kind of like a USB mouse, and we're able to work like how we usually work with a computer.
Yeah, I kind of want to take this time also to explain, why this little compact piece of equipment we call like a computer. Because for a really long time, our definition of desktop computing are these big tower PCs, right? And they have a fan in the back. It, starts whirring when, it runs hot. Um, it's really because of the chip, the CPU that's running in those computers. So I want to talk a little bit about the difference between Intel CPUs and also a type of CPU called ARM, A-R-M, right? So Intel, we all know, we all love, we've used it for decades. Um, it takes a look, or it takes a, it takes a view of providing you power but consuming a lot of energy and resources. So Intel takes an angle of, okay, I'm going to give you a lot of processing power, but I'm going to hog a lot of your resources, take a lot of your electricity, and that's why you need a fan, because it runs so hot that you need to actually get that heat out of the computer, right? And that's a tower PC, and that's a traditional model. Now, everybody, you look in your pocket, and you also have a computer. It's called your phone, and that phone is really small. You can't put a fan on that phone. If you put a fan on that phone, that phone will be, number one, really heavy, and number two, kind of weird, right? Because you'd be blowing air out of your pocket. But another company called ARM took the same view about what a chip or a CPU should be and went the opposite route. They said, look, I want to be efficient with your data, with your power, and efficient with your power consumption. So I want to allow you to do your basic tasks, your tasks really well. You almost can't feel the difference between your phone and your laptop in most situations, but I want to be able to be really efficient with your energy use so that you can use it in compact places like tablets and phones. And these two companies came at this problem from very different angles. So we grew up knowing Intel. If you don't know ARM, it's good to know ARM now because all of those, those Samsung phones, those HTCs, those the Xiaomi phones or the Google phones or whatever phone you have in your pocket that's not an Apple phone, it uses ARM architecture. What's in the Remix Mini is exactly what type of things you have in your phone, except we allowed it to be projected onto through HDMI to be onto your screens, your TVs, your monitors, your projectors, and then built in what Remix OS did, which is like your keyboard and mouse optimization and everything I said before. So it's kind of like knowing that your phone is powerful enough to power a personal computer on desktop, and that's the idea of Remix Mini and how we arrived at this solution for you guys.
All right, cool. So next question here from YU. What about warranties? So let me take the first answer here. So basically, Remix, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, you're providing 1 year of after-sales support. You will be providing a replacement, right, within 1 year, granted that it has inherent uh, defects. Is that correct?
Right. So our 1 year hardware replacement policy is really simple. If it can be shown that this hardware is defective, like it doesn't power on, it doesn't charge, things that allow it or disallow it to be used in a normal fashion, those would be hardware defects, and so we will replace each one when this is the case. So the flow would be we would ask for either a short little video demonstration of it not powering on, and you let us know or you let Jed know at TechSoup, and we'll be replacing it for you guys.
Yes, so basically, I will be your entry point here. So I know all of you know my email, so you can basically email me first. We can discuss, and I will be connecting you to Jide afterwards. Here's an interesting question, Jason. So, how long does Remix Mini will be supported by operating system software upgrades?
Sure. So Remix Mini has been around since, oh, we shipped last November after a Kickstarter campaign. We've been updating users since. So what we usually do here is get a lot of feedback from our early users and then optimize the software and the platform software for quite a bit, a lot of iterations up front. And then to the point where the software and the hardware gets stable enough, and then the updates come relatively maybe once every month. So we will continue to support Remix Mini until this actually has no time frame. We continue to support Remix Mini through updates when our users tell us that, for example, just recently, because of Amazon TV, they did an update to their apps. Some people use this app to stream videos, and since some users were letting us know that after this update, Amazon TV wasn't very compatible anymore, we went back, we fixed whatever issues there were, put out an update, and got it to work. So this will continue to happen. We are a software company at heart, and so we don't, like some hardware-only makers, put out an hardware and just kind of just let it sit. Meaning they don't do the software, they kind of just sell you the hardware, and then if there's a hardware issue, they'll take care of it. They might or might not update you. So we're still a software company at heart, and this is part of our core business to continue to optimize and update our software for our users.
All right, cool. So next question here is, how will you provide customer service? Will it be through Jide or TechSoup? So answering this is, it's going to be a mix between TechSoup and Jide. Of course, logistics-wise, in terms of how you'll be placing a request for it, how will you qualify for the nonprofit discounts, that will be answered by TechSoup. But for other technical questions, I may need to relay that to Jide. But basically, I will be your entry point here, so you can email me first at jed@techsoup.asia, and I will be happy to discuss, and we will be using that as a starting point for a discussion. So here, follow-up question, are there any plans from Remix Mini developers to develop Remix Mini exclusive apps, or some of these apps already available? Hmm, interesting.
Interesting question. Give you a little history about what we've done is when we first put out our operating system, this is before the Mini, we actually had some first-party apps like our own notes-taking app, our own browser. But when we thought through what we wanted to achieve long-term, we realized that the most important thing was to build a stable platform, meaning Android ecosystem is already robust with many apps, right? And there are a lot of solutions for apps out there. Rather than spend our time on, perfecting our first-party apps, we wanted to just perfect the platform for which users like you guys can go and find the app you guys want. Like, for example, Chrome browser or Firefox browser. I mean, these guys just do browsers, and we might not be in the best position to replace that browser experience right now. Instead, we wanted to make sure that browser was stable for your operating system. The same can go for email app, right? We also had an email app going for a little bit, but then a lot of people already know how to use Gmail, know how to use Outlook, and so instead of trying to perfect upon what they did or improve upon what they did, we would rather try to make it a seamless experience for you to use the apps you're already used to using. So that's kind of how we took a look at developing our first-party apps. We just decided the operating system, the platform was the most important, and then that platform should allow you to do what you need to do on your device and on your operating system.
And adding to that, the beauty of this is that you are not basically the one who would need to adjust for the hardware. It's actually the hardware who can adjust to what you're currently using. So that's actually the beauty of it. So you don't need to shift to any new apps because it's not compatible. It's mainly because it's mainly a question of having Remix Mini be compatible towards whatever it is that you're currently using. So that is actually good for NGOs because I know you do use a, quite a variety of apps uh, as of the moment. All right, so any more questions, guys?
Um, I wanted to jump in here and touch on something that I think it's also important to note. When we talk about Android apps, a lot of them are, built for mobile or the mobile experience. Let's look at the most important apps for, organizations. I think it's the productivity suites. Google has their docs, their sheets, and their slides, and that's one set where you can collaborate, and they work fine across Remix OS and Remix Mini. I think another option or alternative out there that's highly used is the Microsoft Office suite of apps, Docs, Excel, and PowerPoint. And then some people would mention that the Android versions are light versions, meaning they don't have every single functionality you see available on Windows versions. But it's interesting because when we take a look at the kind of users for, let's take Excel. Excel is a pretty good one to kind of talk about as an example. 85% of Excel users are normal users or light users, and 50% roughly are power users, meaning your finance staff or your accountants might use Excel in its full glory to produce those P&Ls or those financial reports. And for folks like that, it might be a case where they do need to have the full version, meaning they'll probably still have a traditional PC on their desk. But for 85% of us, and me included, we really only view spreadsheets that these fine people generate for us, or do some light editing to these spreadsheets. So the ability to see the information and perhaps put in a comment here or there, that's what 85% of us do with spreadsheets anyways. So for what the Android solution is for example, the Office suite of apps, for example, Android version of Excel, uh, that's that's actually completely fine for 85% of the users out there. So you would imagine all your non-power use staff, like your folks in HR or admin or marketing or PR or any kind of these non-power users, these kind of departments. I think all they need is actually just the light use, and for that, Remix OS, Remix Mini, and then the Android app ecosystem is absolutely just fine.
And adding to that, Office for mobiles, regardless if it's for iOS or Android, these are actually available for free. So you can just easily go to Play Store and get it now, regardless of your device. And it works perfectly if you have an Office 365 donation as well from Microsoft. And the same goes with the Google Productivity Suite. It will go perfectly well as well with the Google apps available in the Google for Nonprofits donation program as well. So this again ties in perfectly with the larger donations that will be available, that are made available by Google and Microsoft as well. All right, guys, other questions, please do send them in now. Okay, so while we're waiting for new questions, a good thing as well that I would like to highlight here is the scalability of this. Take, for example, uh, Jason has highlighted earlier how the low maintenance cost, also the affordability of the device itself, plus take into consideration the affordability of running it as well because of the low power consumption. Now, if you take this in the context of a nonprofit who's running a computer lab for children, or basically who would like to set up a computer lab for grassroots communities, this is actually now more affordable for you, and it's more doable because again of the affordability of the device and the low cost of the maintenance itself as well. So just like to highlight that.
Uh, that's actually a great point. So at the very beginning, I talked about my own experiences with nonprofits and NGOs. So when I was helping my clients or participants search for free training courses or educating themselves on new skills that would provide them the opportunity to work or get back into the workforce, computer labs, places where people could even just either increase their typing speed or just to learn typing in general. This was a huge thing for the NGOs that I had worked with before. The cost or knowing these training programs, the cost of upkeeping or maintaining that kind of a lab was really vast. That's where most of the government subsidies actually went into. And so what we're really trying to do is bring back that idea that, you know, the $100 or less PC, right? In fact, this is half that, right? I think this is a very, very powerful statement. Getting this technology into the hands of people who can really use it. I mean, like really, really a lot of respect from me goes out to the folks on this call because what you're doing is providing change in your corner of the world, right? And so we want to be able to provide you tools for that change, and I think this is why this partnership is really exciting for us.
Yes. All right. So guys, any other questions? It's an interesting opportunity now that we actually have Jide here. So please do punch in your questions. So just a question from me, Jason. If an organization is running a network or a server, an on-site one, will this be compatible in a sense?
Yeah, sure. So I'm assuming that your server or the place where you store a lot of your information is connected to the internal the network. So Remix Mini will be one of the devices on your network and can be able to access a lot of that information internally. This is this is something that's simple through a lot of times your server is available through either an internal URL or however you normally access it. You can actually access the information that's stored on your servers. So that's actually something that's pretty simple to do with the local access network or the local area network that you have internally in your organization.
Okay. So here, okay, we have an interesting question here as well. So how can we use the programs in Remix? So I guess this is more on the user interface and basically how you're going to interact with the device itself. So basically, let me
Sure.
start with this question. I think the basic idea of the user interface, or basically how it looks like, it's basically like any other operating system you're using. If you're using Windows or iOS, where you have a start button, you have a kind of like a file browser. That's basically about it, correct? It's just,
Yes.
mhm.
I I kind of feel bad now because I cut off that video that we were showing. I could show it again, but I think the most important thing is same way you would download any software program and you would install any software program and then you would run it. For example, like Microsoft Word, it's pretty much the same as you were used to on your PC. Uh, Now, let's say you're using Adobe Reader, right? You would download that program, and then when you download Adobe files through your email, like your colleague sends you an Adobe file, you, when you click on that file, it would automatically search for a reader for you to open up that PDF. And so in a sense, it's the same way. Um, so again, for Android, you would go to your preferred Android App Store, for example, Google Play, or whatever is native in your market. You can download any of these apps, which are just programs really, and then just run them as you would. Um, Jed, do you think it's worth it for me to play that video again so that people can see it? I actually uh, just stopped it kind of towards the middle because I thought I wanted to save some time for
uh,
the questions and answers.
if we can, I guess if we can begin at the middle, I think that would be good. Let's just focus on the
Sure.
user interface in itself. All right.
Okay. So let's start here. I think this is a good part. We're plugged in. Everything is going. This is your app drawer. This is like your start menu. You can do things like run videos. This is actually just YouTube. You're watching YouTube in small window mode, full screen mode, and then you see a lot of your quick settings, right? Turning on your Bluetooth, for example. This part is more game control, has less to do with what we need to talk about in organizations, but this is also, again, your start menu. This is a touch screen, actually, so it's a little bit different. If we kind of move on, here we see, again, more that taskbar. You see a little bit more close-up. This is Skype, helping you communicate to your business interests, or this is also video communications. This is probably really important for any organization. External storage, we see a USB flash drive. We also see an external hard drive. And then this is what I meant by keyboard shortcuts or file manager, right? Being able to drag, select lots of files, drag them across. Opening up two windows. You have a browser and you have Word next to it. And what we're just doing very simply is to grab that image off your browser, put in your Word doc, and this is your keyboard shortcuts right here. Again, you see multiple windows, being able to type and doing a lot of search. Again, this is probably Chrome browser. And that was a little bit of a walkthrough with what we were talking about. Basically, it's like any operating system that you already have used before. It's like your Windows, it's like your Mac. You download programs, you install programs, you run programs the same way you would with your other desktops or PCs that you've used before.
To add to that, sorry for the term, but this is actually in a way idiot-proof. I mean, myself included in that. I usually have these hesitations when I buy new hardware, meaning, do I need new training again? Do I need to relearn this thing? It's actually, with Remix Me, it's not. It's intuitive. That's the best way to describe it. Again, if you're used to using Windows, it's basically the same experience. So no training required in using the hardware and even in setting up the hardware. So, all right, a few questions here. So one is, does the USB support dongles for mobile internet?
This is a great question. Actually, for the Remix Mini, that has proven not to work. So if you do use USB dongles for internet, I have seen users already report through this past year that it does not work. So sorry to report that.
All right. Another question is, can we run Windows software on Remix OS?
Okay. So let's be very
Sorry,
clear about this.
would you kindly help answer that question on the mobile dongles? It's correct that with the USB dongle, hi, this is Tawanda from Jide, I'm Jason's colleague. It's correct that USB dongles, as Jason said, don't work. However, many people have found that just using their phones as a mobile hotspot or getting a mobile hotspot from your internet service provider works perfectly fine with the Remix Mini, and that creates a Wi-Fi hotspot that you can access the internet through. So that goes to a large extent to resolving any need that you'd have for a non-traditional Wi-Fi internet connection. I hope that's useful.
Yeah, great point,
Thanks.
Tawanda. That actually was something that I slipped my mind. So thank you for sharing that.
All right. So by the way, that was
Uh,
Tawanda from, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jason.
no, I had forgotten what that other question was.
Okay, sorry. So the next question was that, can we run Windows software on Remix OS?
Right. So let's be very clear about this. Windows and exe files they were designed for Windows. So this is Android, like the one you have in your phone. So there's a whole other software or app ecosystem for Android that you can find on your Google Play Store. All of these are .apk files. So they're actually separate kinds of systems, separate kinds of software. In general, Windows programs take up a lot of your internal storage. They're very heavy programs, and Android, in general, are very light programs because they need to fit into your phone storage. And so these are different. But a lot of people who make these software programs, for example, let's take Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint. These were Windows applications or programs that have Android versions, right? Uh, in today's world, most software programmers and developers, they program or develop programs for mobile first, meaning your Android phones, your Apple phones, and then also they develop for Windows. So it's actually, the world has kind of shifted. Most developers develop for mobile first now, rather than developing for example, Windows first. So a lot of times the Windows programs you see has an Android counterpart, but not every Android app has a Windows counterpart. So there's actually a little bit more versatility in the Android app ecosystem.
All right. Uh, Another question here. What is the maximum LCD dimension inch supported by Remix?
Okay, so there are different resolutions that are supported. I believe we go up to full HD, so that's 1920 times 1080 uh, resolution on the Remix Mini itself. So it can support up to full HD.
Okay. Another question. What are the advantages of Remix compared to similar products such as Minix, Himedia, and Zidu?
Wow. So I believe I only know about Linux. Look, the bottom line is what Remix OS leverages, and I guess what Remix Mini leverages through Remix OS is Android and the Android app ecosystem. One of the biggest things about Linux users are a lot of times they're developers themselves, but there are not as many apps, not as many software applications. For us, again, I don't want to sound like a voice recording, but we think the platform should allow you to do whatever it is you need to do. And that's really through software programs. A lot of developers have already created awesome programs for you to do your emailing, your video watching, your browsing, your document creation. This is what we think we're providing the platform for that. So Android inherently has the most amount of software programs, software apps out there. So other than the difference really being you can just do more through Remix OS, which is based on Android.
All right. So here's an interesting question actually. How is the language support and keyboard support of Remix Mini?
Okay, so uh, inherent in Android is the ability to change languages. I believe there are over 150 language selections. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, uh, on this call there are folks from the Philippines and from Singapore. English definitely in those markets is fine. I think Tagalog is also an option in Android itself. So I do have to go back and fact check that myself. But so in the settings menu there is a language setting. You can set your systems to a lot of the languages that are available or needed in the world. And then the keyboard setting, what you can do in Android is to adjust the keyboard setting to that which you're used to. So that's a software solution for your keyboard. Now, your keyboard in your market is going to reflect, what you guys are used to in terms of typing, right? But as for the software solution, you can set that in Android itself. So
All right. So basically that was the last question for now, and we still have a few minutes, so I'll just give a few more moments for last questions to pile in. And while we're waiting, I'd just like to highlight, earlier it was mentioned that the internal memory of Remix is 16 gigabytes, but that can also be expanded, right, through a micro SD.
yes. So there's a TF slot in the back of Remix Mini, which allows you to expand through SD cards up to 128 gigabytes. So it comes with 16 internal memory, but you can definitely expand that through that slot.
Yeah.
But just to add on to that, you'll find that most Android apps, Android-based programs, are again much lighter than Windows. So if you think about your phone, if your phone has 16 gigabyte storage, it basically takes care of your needs for most computing needs. And if you have this in a computer lab or in your organization for for your staff to use, most often you don't need more than 16 gigs. I mean, you're not downloading like movies to watch per se. You're not downloading like heavy graphics intensive games per se. And those two kind of files take up most of your memory on Android. Now, if you're not, downloading movies and playing heavy graphics intensive games, then actually 16 gigs goes a long way.
Correct. And I believe a lot of apps now are mostly cloud-based. So basically, it decreases kind of like the weight on the device itself. Thus, it makes it, it takes up less space. Here's a
Right, and in today's world, we're used to using things like Dropbox and with Box and things like that. So a lot of organizations store on Google Drive anyways, right? So
correct. And you can also plug in external storage devices, right? Like external hard disks and USBs.
yes,
Cool.
yes, definitely. So if that's something that you actually needed, and we had talked about before, like your local servers or even your NAS, your network attached storage devices, this would be fine as well.
All right. So a question here in terms of
Just
RAM.
one more point.
Ah, yes.
I'd just like to ask. I've noticed that many questions are related to Remix OS, Jed. I'd like to ask Jason, could you please go to the last slide in your presentation where there's a video of Remix OS to answer some of the questions that people had. Just the one after the Remix Mini technical specifications. Many people had questions about Remix OS, and there was a video there that might be able to give people a clear idea of how
I
this would work.
are you, Tawana, are you talking about after this slide?
It should be just after the slide. Is there
Yeah,
one after that?
well, for the Google
No?
Slides, I think
Alright.
we might not have that. What we can do though is I can pull
Okay.
that up if you guys give me a second. So Tawana, why don't you talk over this a little bit while I pull up that video?
Sure. But basically, what we effectively have been able to do to Remix OS is to empower you to use, as Jason mentioned before, your mobile Android apps, which you're familiar with on your different smartphones, be it Samsung or Huawei, any Android phone, and to give you a true productivity experience with that. And what that effectively means is that your suite of Office apps, as Jason mentioned before, would work very well with that. And this video just gives you another overlook of the user interface, which goes to a large extent to answering some of the questions that other people
I
that
am
were asked during this
I'm
question session.
I'm going to pull that video up really soon, and we're going to play it.
Okay.
And
Great, thanks. That's
Just
all from me. Thanks, Jed.
while we're waiting for the video, just a couple of quick questions here. In terms of RAM or ROM, is Jide looking into developing a higher spec Remix Mini in the future?
uh, yeah, well, so for us, we are constantly taking feedback that we get from our user community, and we do take in consideration, what people need, and we're working on things all the time. But a device specific like Mini, because what we've really done with this is kind of tailor it for a PC environment. It might be we the form factor is what it is. It's small. It's compact. But for something specifically for like an Android PC device, we're thinking about it. We're working on it, but right now we don't have anything to announce yet. So
All right. So while you play that video, just a quick clarification and question here. Johnson, you've raised a question. Will you organize campaigns in those 6 countries separately in the future? Could you clarify on what you mean here by campaign? Do you mean like a donation campaign like from TechSoup, or could you just kindly clarify why we play the video?
sure. Yeah, this video was made a little, let's see, a little over half a year ago, I think, and or actually a little bit longer. And you see some of the numbers, like 1.6 million. Android is actually up to 2 million apps now. But this is gives you an idea of what we're talking about here with Remix OS. You saw a lot of the PC functionality and the features that you're used to already through your normal traditional PCs.
All right, cool. So we're right about at the end of the webinar now. So just answering the quick last question from Johnson here. Sales or marketing campaigns for local communities either by TechSoup or Jide jointly. So if this is a grassroots campaigns, we will be definitely looking into it. But right now we have a lot of online campaigns going on. Majority of it is coming through the TechSoup newsletter. So please do sign up so you'll receive relevant content about Jide in the future. So, okay, so we're just about at the end of the webinar. Again, thank you so much to both you guys who have joined and Jide for hosting this amazing webinar. Jason or Tawanda, any last words from you guys before we end?
Well, I'd just like to say
Again,
again,
we're most so,
go to Tawanda, go ahead.
so I was just going to say thank you so much to you, Jed, and the rest of the participants for making this happen. We're really inspired by the work that you as charities do, and we're honored to empower you to have tools that make your work better as you continue to transform people's lives. So thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. I second what Tawanda said. Thank you very much for the time and the opportunity for us to, kind of go through what Remix Mini can do. And hopefully you guys find it a useful tool in shaping your parts of the world.
Cool. And from my end, again, guys, thank you so much to Jide for making this happen. But the stars here are you, the NGOs who have attended. Again, Remix provides you with a unique opportunity to overcome the initial barrier of what traditional hardware is, the costs, the inconvenience of setting it up, the training, and the necessary upkeep for it. Again, Remix is the perfect solution to that, so please do explore this unique and amazing opportunity made available by Jide and TechSoup. So again, thank you, and I will be sending you the necessary information. Take, for example, the recording to this and all the necessary links and the slides within 24 hours. So again, thank you guys and talk to you again soon. All right.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you, Jason and Tawanda, and thank you, NGOs. And lastly, yes, Johnson, there are future webinars, of course. And if you have any ideas on, if you have topics in mind, please let me know. I am more than willing to listen to that. All right. Thank you, guys, and have a nice day. Thank you.